It's one of the most painful and confusing human experiences. The person who knows you best, the one you trust the most, is also the person most capable of hurting you deeply. And if we're being honest, you are most capable of hurting them. We unleash a raw, unfiltered version of ourselves on our partners, our parents, our children, a version we would never dare show a stranger. We reserve our sharpest words and our coldest silences for the very people we cherish most. So why do we do it? Why does love so often come with this hidden, destructive shadow? The easy answer is that we take them for granted. But the philosopher Alan Watts reveals a much stranger and more profound reason. He suggests it's rooted in a fundamental and ultimately mistaken belief we all carry about who we really are. On the surface, the answer seems simple enough. We tell ourselves that we feel safe with our family and loved ones. We trust that they will forgive us, that the bond is strong enough to withstand our worst moments. In this space, the social mask we wear for the outside world can finally drop. We call this the real us coming out, the unvarnished truth of our feelings and frustrations. We see it as a perverse form of intimacy, where we are finally free to be ourselves, even if that self is angry, resentful, or cruel. But if this is truly our authentic self, we are left with a deeply troubling question. Why is this real me so vicious? If we genuinely felt safe, secure, and loved, why would our most fundamental nature express itself through venomous words, cold shoulders, and emotional violence? The conventional explanation begins to crack under the weight of this paradox. It doesn't account for the sheer ferocity, the specific kind of hurt that is reserved only for those we hold closest. The sting of a loved one's comment is qualitatively different from a stranger's insult. It carries a history and an expectation that makes it land with far greater force. The pain is more profound because the context is love. This is where the wisdom of Alan Watts offers a crucial distinction. He would argue that this cruel outburst is not the real you at all. To mistake it for your authentic self is to misunderstand the human condition entirely. What we are witnessing in these moments of emotional violence is not a true self emerging, but rather a symptom of a fractured identity. It is the sound of a fragile ego feeling threatened, not from the outside, but from within its own inner circle. The pain we inflict is not a sign of ultimate trust, but a desperate, misguided defense of a self that feels its very foundations are under attack by the very people who are supposed to be part of that foundation. To truly grasp this, we need to understand the fundamental building block of our conventional identity, the ego. Alan Watts often described this sense of I, this feeling of being a separate self, as a fortress. From a very young age, we learn to construct these walls. They are made of our accomplishments, our beliefs, our personality traits, our reputation, everything we use to answer the question, who am I? This fortress creates a clear distinction. Inside is me, and outside is the outside world, full of other people and things that are not me. This is the lens through which we experience almost everything. This model works reasonably well for managing external threats. When a stranger insults you or a colleague criticizes your work, the dynamic is straightforward. The attack comes from outside the walls. The fortress is designed for this. You can rally your defenses. You can dismiss their opinion as irrelevant because they don't know you. You can fire back a counter-insult, or you can simply retreat behind your battlements and let the assault bounce off. The conflict is clean, in a sense, because the lines are clearly drawn. It is me versus them. But love changes everything. When you fall in love, be it with a partner, or when you form a deep bond with a child or a close friend, you do something extraordinary. You open the gates of your fortress, and you invite them inside. They are no longer part of the threatening, outside world. You allow them to see your vulnerabilities, your hopes, your insecurities, the inner workings of the citadel. Over time, they become integrated into your very sense of self. Their happiness becomes your happiness. Their well-being feels integral to your own. They become part of your identity. You don't say, "my fortress and I," you begin to say, "we." This is why their actions carry such immense and unique power. When a loved one disappoints you, criticizes you, or fails to meet your expectations, it is categorically different from an external attack. The threat is not on the outside, pounding at the walls. The threat is now inside the command center. It feels like a betrayal, a mutiny. It feels as if a part of your own being has turned against you. This is the core of the strange reason we hurt the ones we love. The pain is so acute, so disorienting, because it is a form of civil war. Your reaction in these moments is therefore not a simple, proportional response to another independent person's behavior. It is a panicked, visceral response to what feels like a part of your own self breaking rank. The fury, the harsh words, the cold withdrawal, these are not the actions of a secure and whole individual. They are the desperate tactics of a regime trying to quell an internal rebellion. You are not just fighting them. You are fighting the part of you that they have come to represent. The battle is happening within the walls of your own identity, and in a civil war, there are no clean lines, and the collateral damage is always catastrophic. This is why the wounds are so deep and why our reactions can be so disproportionately cruel. We are not defending ourselves from an outsider. We are trying to violently reassemble our own shattered sense of self. So what is the answer? If the fortress is the source of the problem, the solution cannot be to build higher walls or thicker armor. That only deepens the loneliness and amplifies the shock of any internal betrayal. The true transformation begins when we start to question the fortress itself. The revolutionary insight is to realize that the wall, the boundary between me and not me, was always an illusion, a useful construct, perhaps, but not the ultimate truth. We are not isolated citadels. We are more like waves on a single, vast ocean. The wave has a unique, temporary form, but it is never truly separate from the water from which it rises and into which it will fall. This shift in perception changes everything about how we relate to others. When you begin to loosen your grip on the separate fortress self, you can stop seeing your loved ones as extensions of your own identity. You no longer need them to play a specific role in your story or to uphold the part of your ego that they have been assigned. Instead, you can begin to see them as they truly are: miraculous, independent, and fleeting expressions of life itself. You see them with the same wonder you might feel observing a unique star in the night sky or a perfectly formed, transient flower. They are not there to complete you or to validate your existence. They are their own complete, sovereign universe, and you have the profound privilege of witnessing them. This is the move from a relationship based on ownership to one grounded in appreciation. Ownership says, "You are part of my story, and you must behave in ways that make my story a good one." It is a contract full of expectations and conditions. Appreciation, on the other hand, whispers, "I am in awe that our stories get to intersect. I am grateful for the unique and unpredictable dance we are sharing for this brief moment in time." The former is a demand, the latter is a gift. In ownership, your loved one's failures are your failures. In appreciation, their journey is their own, and you are a companion, not a director. This does not mean you become a passive doormat or that you accept abuse. In fact, It allows for a much clearer and more honest form of relationship. When a loved one acts in a way that is hurtful or unacceptable, it is no longer perceived as a fundamental betrayal of your core self. It is simply the behavior of another free, complex, and sometimes flawed being. Your reaction is no longer driven by the panicked, existential terror of a collapsing ego. Instead, you can respond from a place of greater clarity and stability. You can set a boundary. You can express your hurt. You can have a difficult conversation, but you do so without the added venom of feeling that your entire world is under attack. You are protecting your peace, not defending a fortress. The conflict is a surface event on the ocean, not a civil war within the walls. And in that space, love is no longer a desperate clutch of ownership, but a joyful and grateful celebration of the profound gift of connection. The strange and painful paradox we began with finds its resolution not in a technique, but in a profound shift of understanding. We hurt the ones we love because we have made a fundamental error of identity. We have mistaken them for being mere extensions of our own fragile, separate self, a self that is, in the grand scheme of things, a fleeting construct. When this fragile idea of me feels threatened, its reaction is primal and immediate. It lashes out at what is nearest, at what it believes it owns, which is the very love it sought to secure. The cruelty is the sound of the illusion of separation fighting for its life. The journey, then, is one of letting go. It is the gradual, often challenging, but ultimately liberating process of loosening our grip on this separate self. It is not about destroying the ego, but about seeing through its claim to be the absolute center of the universe. As this happens, a remarkable quietness emerges. You find you have less to defend, less to prove, and less territory to patrol. The fortress, once a place of siege, is seen for the illusion it always was, and you are left standing in the open, unguarded and truly connected. In that expansive space, love undergoes a transformation. It is no longer a desperate clutch, a demand for security, or a contract of mutual ego support. It becomes something lighter, more joyful, and more resilient, a grateful dance between two free beings. This is the highest form of love, one that aligns with the natural world. As Alan Watts might have reflected, you learn to love your partner, your family, your friends as you love a sunset. You do not try to control the sunset, to demand it last longer, or to be angry that the clouds have arranged themselves in a way you did not prefer. You do not claim ownership over it. You simply and utterly appreciate the profound, fleeting gift of being present to witness its beauty. You let it be exactly what it is, and in that non-interference, its beauty is allowed to flourish on its own terms. To offer this same grace to another human being, to appreciate the miracle of their existence without demanding they color themselves to your liking, is to end the civil war. It is to transform love from a source of our deepest pain into our most enduring and peaceful joy.